and learning through the process and failing miserable many times, so then you can kind of skip all that process and be able to track the things you want in your life, but then also strategically, with the numbers, with the KPIs, be able to essentially, I don't want to call it manipulate, I want to basically improve those numbers to increase revenue and increase your success. So what we're going to talk about tonight, I'm actually going to give you a couple different things. Actually, the things we're talking about, the tools that we are talking about tonight, I'm actually going to give you a download link so you can download those at the end of the training. So definitely stay tuned with me. So here's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to kind of give you kind of back up and kind of go through what the process was of me trying to learn this information and then being able to apply it. So what we're going to talk about and go through is a process that I learned of goal attraction. And there's a lot of different things. I'm not going to go, too deep. I mean, I could spend, 2 and 3 and 4 hours going through what I'm about to show you, but I'm actually going to give you the workbook and I'm going to highlight several different things that has made an impact. And one of those is a morning ritual, a specific morning ritual to follow. That is the result, I think, of success in my life, other than having God influence over my life, which is obviously the paramount reason for success in His grace. But more importantly, not more importantly, but what has really helped is having that morning ritual and being able to connect and focus on achievement and what you want in your life and your goals, and infusing gratitude in your goals. And I'm going to talk about how gratitude really impacts your goals in a positive way. So we're going to talk about a specific morning ritual that you can basically, I'm going to go through it and show you what that is and then how you can apply it in 2022 in your business and what you can do achieve. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is actually how to manage your calendar based upon priorities, but also how to get the most done in the shortest period of time. Imagine if you could accomplish, 1 year's worth of goals in 90 days. That's what we're talking about, is being hyper-focused and also getting a massive amount of success in a short period of time in these bursts of energy. And we're going to show you how to manage the calendar, your actually calendar, with prioritization. So I have 2 daughters and married, and being able to go to every single one of their dance events or singing events or tennis events or any event that they've ever palms, and this being literally present at everything in their entire life and never missing the most precious moments of their lives because of this prioritization process that we're going to talk about, and also having the real estate business to be able to fund it, so I'm not having to go to report at a job every single day. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about, within this process, and I'm going to touch on what's called the January letter. And the January letter has probably been the core to the goal setting process, and I learned it from John Carlton. John Carlton is a highly successful, he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, he's a copywriter, and instead of chasing your goals, meaning you set a goal and then you got to go chase your goal, he would pull goals toward him, and they literally, based upon his January, show up in a miraculous way. So we're going to talk about that goal attraction process and what that looks like, talking about the January letter. So we're going to talk about that. And I said, I'm going to give you this worksheet, this workbook. We call the Goal Attraction Workbook. I'm going to give you that so you're able to download it. Now, that's the personal side of the business. That's you as an individual, what you want to accomplish, your health, your vitality, your purpose in your life, your own morning ritual, your spiritual, mental, family side of your business. That's you, right? Then we have the business side. What do we do for goals on the business side? We're going to talk about that. I'm actually going to take you into a spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you 3 different numbers that impact your business in a dramatic way. They're called key performance indicators. They're the 3 most important KPIs in your business. I'm actually going to show you the 3 KPIs, how they impact your business. Then we're going to talk about how to improve those KPIs in 2021. So specific things you can do to improve those KPIs to literally 10x your business without spending any more money on marketing, right? So we're going to talk about those and how to dramatically increase. So how to go from $100,000 to $1 million a year, and doing that literally by improving these numbers, each one of them. So we're going to talk about how that works and the importance of it. So here's the thing. If you have your personal side, your mental, spiritual, emotional, physical side, and that's dialed in, it's turned on, tapped in, and you're on, right? And then you have your business side, your focus, a weekly goal that you can target to, and you're able to focus on specifically. And I love weekly goals. I can go out and I can achieve a weekly. I have the bigger picture of what I want to accomplish, but I have a weekly goal that I'm going after, every single week. And on a weekly basis, you and your team can be able to focus on those 3 numbers. It's absolutely critical to make it happen. So how did this all happen? So I'm going to give you the downloads that you can work on, and I'm not selling anything tonight. I'm not talking any products, anything. I just want to be able to make an impact in your life in a positive way, where I know that 2022 is going to be an incredible year. It's going to be a year of change. I think a dramatic change. Now, we had coronavirus. We know in 2020, now we have, Omicron, whatever it's called, variant that's now impacting, and these things that are going on. We're going to talk about that, what it does and how it impacts us in a positive way, but also how it impacts us in a way, whether it be positive or negative, but how we can stay positive in that environment. We can keep moving forward and then be able to maneuver as the changes in this world, come about, right? And what we gotta look at. So, for me, it was really 2008, very similar to what happened, that we saw with the coronavirus and all this type of stuff. There was a shift in the marketplace. In 2003, I was introduced to real estate. I learned how to go out and find motivated sellers, be able to talk to motivated sellers, be able to get properties under contract, be able to sell those properties. And in 2003, I went out of the gate. I made $11,008. $11,008 on my first ever check. And for me, that changed everything. That gave me proof of concept that this whole wholesaling thing actually works, but also it gave me confidence I can move forward. Now, that was the first check, and that was May of 2003. I got my first check of $11,008. My second check, I made every mistake in the book. Every mistake. I didn't even want to go through it, but I did everything wrong. And luckily, I wasn't sued, and I actually made $2,000. Now, interestingly enough, I didn't make a check for another 3 months. 3 months. And I was freaking out. I was like, is this a fluke? Is it ever going to work for me? Maybe I got these couple deals and it was just random, but it just, it came about by, what happened, right? And I couldn't repeat the process, even though I was doing what I thought I needed to do, but I was missing something. And, interestingly, I've been now teaching since 2010, and I've, I started a podcast in 2010, YouTube videos, all different mediums of teaching, doing these live trainings and stuff like that. And I've met through the events and masterminds and stuff, many people through the process, and you'll tend to find, there's basically 2 different types of people. And here's the thing is they can be in the same market. Let's say they're in Phoenix, Arizona, whatever it might be, wherever market, they're Tucson, Arizona, it could be in the same market. They could be using the same marketing, materials. They are sending postcards, they're sending texts, they're cold calling, whatever it might be, the same, right? And then one person is having abundance and they're having success and they're getting all the results, and then somebody else isn't, and they're struggling and they're having a hard time to actually make ends meet. Well, there's two different types, and there's something that separates those two, and we're going to talk about what the difference is between those two. So if you're on the side of abundance and everything's lining up perfectly and leads are coming in and deals are just closing and everything's working out perfectly, this will show you why that's happening so you can rinse and repeat the process, right? If you're not, if you're struggling and you're trying to market and you're trying to get deals and deals are just falling through and everything's not working out and you're not finding the right seller and you feel like you're getting left behind and you're feeling all this over here, well, this is going to show you what the difference maker is. So back in 2003, I was just blowing and going, right? It was a good market. The market was going up like crazy, and I kind of caught that wave in 2003, 2004. I made $154,000 after I closed that my third deal, right? I went 3 months without a deal. I finally started applying some of these principles we talked about, and this is a morning ritual. and then I got a check, and that check was $34,000, and that was 2003. That was mid 2003, and I can tell you that made a big difference for me too. I was like, holy cow! From there, I went out, and in that year, I made $154,000. That first from May to the end of the year of 2003. Now, that was a lot of money to me, and I did it in a career that was brand new. I quit my job when I first got my $11,008 check, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going all in, honey. Let's go. And I struggled. And I struggled a lot because of what we're going to talk about. And then I made a slight shift. It's not a big shift. If you guys play golf, if you have the golf club and it angles just a little bit, the ball's going to go off in a complete different trajectory. But if you keep it at that certain angle, you can hit it right down the middle of the fairway. But what I found out is this slight shift that you can make in yourself, guess what? Things line up perfectly. And that's what I was able to figure out, and that's what I'm going to share with you tonight on what the training is. So what happened was in 2003, I made $154,000. 2004 came along. Guess what? There is, foreclosures. We learned how to structure deals in foreclosures. I built a portfolio of 120 properties, $36 million worth at the end of 2003, beginning of 2004, all the way through 2004. And then in 2005, if you remember 2005, now this is a long ago, I know. In 2005, it's very similar to what we see today. We see a low interest rate, a similarly low interest rate environment. We see so money's cheap. We also see where there's bidding wars on properties, where you see, I just my wife's sister put in an offer on a house and that she really wanted, and she put an escalation clause of $15,000 above and beyond the top asking price with a cap of X that was like $40,000 over their actually asking price. I'm like, holy cow, this is 2005 all over again. We're basically at the same place where we were. Money's cheap right now, and then guess what? Inventory is low right now because inventory impacts real estate, and the market's on fire. We're back in 2005 right now in 2022. Now, what happened in 2005? Do you remember? Well, market was on fire. It was crazy. And I owned basically 120 properties going into the height of 2005. And a group out of California came to us and they said, hey, we're looking for inventory. There was really no inventory in the market. And they're like, we want to buy all your properties in blocks, right? We have all these investors in California. They want to buy your properties in blocks. and we love to have, be able to sell your inventory. So what we did was we packaged up our properties. They brought them to California and then they sold in blocks 20, 30, 40 of our properties at a time. And from, early 2005 to mid to late 2005, we sold all of our 120 properties. I think we had a couple left, 2 or 3 properties left, right? Sold the majority of our properties and made millions and millions and millions of dollars because we literally sold those properties in the height of the market, which was insane. Where there was like multiple offers on them, and it was just crazy. So that was my brilliant move, right? It wasn't me again, it was God. I also made some really stupid moves because I didn't understand market cycles. I had all this money, had millions of dollars. I mean, it was just ridiculous. The money came so fast, it was insane. And I got too big for my britches, and guess what happened? I stopped doing what I'm talking about here. I stopped my morning ritual. I thought I knew what I knew. I started doing things different and making little shifts, and then things changed. Things changed dramatically. So what happened is in 2006, the market shifted. 2007, the market shifted. And in those years, instead of doing what I knew, which was wholesaling houses and getting properties under contract, fixing them and selling them, I got into the land acquisition and entitlement business. I met someone that was one of the dance dads, and he's like, well, we got to get in the land business, right? We had all this money, we could raise capital, whatever, and we started buying land in late 2005, early 2006, mid 2006. Now, the market cycle's up here, and we start buying land. What happens when the market goes up, a market comes down, a market goes up? You can just look at the stock market charts, and you can just watch them. They just go up and down and actually waves. So I happened to buy at the top of the wave, land at the top of the wave. And then we basically crashed in 2007, 8, and 9. And I found myself in a very precarious situation. I went from highly liquid, tons of capital, cash, bank. I had to figure out how to put all the money in the banks because each account only is only protected up to $250,000. So you have to have multiple different accounts, multiple different banks, figure out what you're put the money so you're protected for FDIC. It becomes a problem, right? And I'm going, holy cow, what do we do? So I went from a highly liquid situation to where now I found myself illiquid, meaning I spent millions of dollars and invested in land in large parcels. And at the time, going into 2007, we had about 563 lots that we entitled, $30 million worth of land that we entitled going into 2007 and 8. The problem was they weren't owned cash. They had leverage. We had loans on land. And guess what? Land does not produce income. And land doesn't produce income. That means you're shelling out monthly costs. So we basically got, soft money. It wasn't hard money. It was like, 10 to 12% interest money, which, in this market now is hard money. On land, on millions of dollars worth of land that we turn around and we're in process of titling. And there's some properties we had sold. I had a $2 million parcel that we assembled. We entitled it into 166 lots. We had the property sold to a huge home builder here in Phoenix, and that home builder backed out right before their $250,000 non-refundable earnest money became non-refundable, right? $250,000 earnest money became non-refundable at that day that they backed out of the contract. Well, we were in it for about $2.3 million. We had it sold for about 13 million, 12 million. And there's about a $10 million profit in the mix for 3 partners. My cut would have been, almost, $3.5 million on that one particular deal. And guess what? It went down the tubes. Part of the reason why is I stopped doing what we're going to be talking about tonight. Stopped doing this particular process. So what brought me to and back and refined this is in 2008. I haven't told a lot of people this. In 2008, gotta get some drink water here. In 2008, the market crashed. Stock market blew up. And the stock market is a leading indicator. Actually, the real estate market is a leading indicator to the stock market. So that the housing market topped and it started to correct. Tons of foreclosures hit the market. People were over in debt. People, and the thing that really made it for me is I went to one of our hard money lenders here locally, and he did huge. He was the largest hard money lender, and in 2008, he dressed up in a tuxedo, and he actually killed himself. And he had this, beautiful mansion in Arcadia. He literally had a golf course on his property. It was like one of the most pristine estates in Arcadia in Phoenix. And he dressed himself up and he killed himself. Why? Because he lost, his identity. His entire identity was in what he did, versus who he was. And he put everything in that identity. Market crashed, and his identity was essentially jeopardized. And he took his life, and he left his kids and left his wife behind, which is tragic. So the market essentially crashed. Phoenix was a bloodbath. Inventories ballooned across the country to months and months supply. Phoenix alone went from 2 to 3 months supply to 12 months supply of inventory. We're right now in weeks supply right now. What happens if we balloon, which we'll talk about, our inventory? What's going to happen to the marketplace right now? So we'll talk about that. The bottom line is that back in that time, I found myself in a situation where I was illiquid. Meaning all my money was invested in land, projects that could not be moved and liquidated. See, if you have your money in the stock market, you can sell your stock and get your money out, right? But you have money in land, right? You can't get your money out. You can't sell unless you take a massive loss on that particular property, and those land values just plummeted. So I found myself in a situation where I couldn't pay the bills. I stopped wholesaling because I thought I was too good for that. I stopped wholesaling. I stopped knocking on pre-foreclosure doors. I stopped doing deals. I was hobnobbing with the vice mayor, with $400 an hour, $500 an hour attorneys. We were going to dinner. We're, meeting at, town councilor meetings, and stuff. And we're going to, meeting with civil engineers and all. And I was big time, right? I had all these huge, multi-million-dollar projects we were pushing through the process. And all of a sudden, everything stopped. We had to write checks on a monthly basis for over $100,000 just in interest cost, to keep the deal, keep these things floating. Well, it came to an end because we became illiquid. And I remember things got super tight. And I started freaking out because you get to the end of the money and you're like, holy cow, it's done. And I had to stop paying on my car. And I got behind, and I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I was trying to figure out this, and I spent more time trying to figure stuff out. And remember, the market has already crashed. There's a bloodbath, foreclosures everywhere. Stock market's a mess, right? And I'm pulling money out of all the play-ups, trying to just keep everything afloat to the point where I got down to it, and I couldn't pay my car payment. And it got to a point where I got several months behind. I had a guy knock on my door. And he came there to basically repossess my car. Now, I remember I was sleeping in. I wasn't connected. I wasn't doing what we're talking about. And a guy pounded on my door in the morning. It was Labor Day 2008. And I was sleeping in. I wasn't getting up early, and I kind of rolled out of bed, had my boxers on, threw my hat on, opened the door, and this thug-looking guy was sitting at the door to repossess my car. And I remember just the fear, the sheer fear over my face, and I was shaking with adrenaline, at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Holy cow. And I didn't even think, man. I said, just give me a second. Let me get my keys. I go out. And I remember walking outside, and my car, is out front. I had it in the garage for some reason, for whatever, but I had my car out front. I remember the neighbors were out mowing the lawn, and this is happening now. And I got this guy with a tow truck in front of my house to repossess my car. How embarrassing, right? How terrible. And I went from all that, all this stuff, to now reality set in. And that was life-changing. That moment, that fear, that sheer, holy crap, I gotta get my crap together. And what happened was I was able to, buy time, and I was able to find a way to keep the stupid car. And I remember my father-in-law shared some information, a book that I'm going to share with you here, and I really started diving into improving myself and getting myself better, getting myself personally, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually dialed in, turned on, tapped in, and basically dialed, right? And then guess what? Well, if you get yourself dialed in personally, guess what? Everything else will kind of fall together, right? Then you can get your business, and everything else will start turning. I started understanding, and ideas came, and people came, and the right opportunities came. So what I want to share with you is how I was able to dig myself out of that hole in 2008. How I was able, through tools and rituals and things and understanding business. And so you don't have to go through that. Because I want to tell you this, in 2022, the market will shift. We could see a 2008 moment. We could see a 2008 moment. That time could come again, right? And I want to prepare you, and so you understand and you can be ready for it. You can embrace it, and you can be able to thrive from that situation instead of being fearful, and then being in a situation where now you're subject to the changing market and impact you in a negative way. So that's my mission for this tonight, to be able to give you the ammunition. So when 2022 hits, then you'll be ready for it. You'll be positioned for it and ready to go out and crush 2022 in a positive way. Now, first thing, when we get into this, is that, like I said, there's two sides of the coin. There's you, right? You personally, and then there's the numbers, the business, the KPIs, and what we can do to improve those numbers. And we're going to talk about both. And each tools that we talk about, I'm going to actually go in, and I'm going to give you those that you can download for free. So the first thing is, we can get into our screen here, Alec. This is the actual goal attraction worksheet, and I created this, and you're going to get a copy of this. It's been updated for 2022. I created this in 2017. If you don't know about me, I've bought and sold thousands of properties over the last 19 years. Currently, right now, own about 760 multifamily units throughout the country. Now, I learned from 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, after going back and studying, the asset classes that survived during the 2008 crash. What was the asset classes that survived? And I looked at those different asset classes, and what survived was student housing and mini storage. Those are the two asset classes that made it during 2008. Class C apartments got hammered. Single family housing market become a bloodbath unless you had cash and you're buying those houses at dirt cheap, pennies on the dollar, which hedge funds came in and did and bought thousands and thousands of homes. But those asset classes made it. So what I did is the position, as I said, hey, you know what I want to do is I want to be able to own those. So we went out and syndicated 760 multifamily units that are primarily, which are student housing units. I'm also working right now, and we're locating properties right now to build a mini storage, and I want to build and own over several thousand units in mini storage, and that's what we're working on next, of building those mini storages, because those are stability. You have mini storage and you have student housing, well, guess what? You'll have more income coming in than you ever dreamt possible, where you don't have to do pretty much anything. You can just have income sources, cash flow and income. But it all started with what I'm talking about right now. It all started where I was basically knocking on the door and I'm freaking out because my car is going to repossess, and I had to change the way I was thinking. I had to apply some different things. So in 2022, the question is, what's going to happen? In 2022, so we'll get into this real quick and what it is, but in 2022, what's going to happen? Well, I want to give you some little inside information that I was privy to, and I can't tell you exactly, but what we have to know is that when a bank repossesses a property, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Fannie Mae, which is government owned, and Freddie Mac, and other large banks, when they repossess a property, what they do is they send a property to auction, and it's different all across the entire country on the timelines. I'll talk about specifically Arizona. Is they'll do what's called a notice of trustee sale, and then they'll do about 90 days, and then that property goes to auction. I know it's a foreclosure, let's say in Texas, for an example, it'll be a foreclosure auction. I think there's 60 days in Texas. But what happens is, in this particular process, the property goes to auction. And now, when that property goes to auction, a bidder can bid on that property as an investor. And I used to buy properties at the auction. We bid on those properties, and we buy them cash on the dime within 24 hours at the auction. Now, if the property does not sell at auction to an investor, bidder, buyer paying cash, then that property reverts to the bank and is called a real estate owned, REO, right? So now that property is owned by the bank, and now that's an asset that the property owns, and that's how they secure their mortgage. So now there's a person in the property, a seller, right? Or a person in the property that's a property owner, they might be a seller or not, and if they don't pay their mortgage, right, then their house goes to auction. And when that house goes to auction, either a bidder can bid on it, and now the bidder owns it, or the bank takes that property back. Now, that period of time, that pre-period, is called pre-foreclosure. Now, I learned the entire business off the pre-foreclosure process. I would get pre-foreclosure lists. I would go knock on pre-foreclosure doors. I would send postcards to pre-foreclosure list. Here's the thing. Let's talk about 2022. What's coming up? Right now, those pre-foreclosure lists are thin. And here's why. And this is a little inside information. And I have, so what happens, let me back up real quick. When a property goes to REO, real estate owned, what does the bank do with that property, right? Right? What they do is they will go to the major auction houses, right? And these are online auction house companies. And what they'll do is they will auction those property off. There's like 3 huge auction companies. And what they'll do is they'll contract with those auction companies, and they will basically auction those properties off through an auction process, right? Now, all these banks, right, are having in the auction, basically auction. If you go to these auction sites, the inventory is very thin because all these banks have postponed really starting the foreclosure and the trustee sale process until January of 2022, just a couple weeks away, right? I mean, we're talking in a couple weeks, they're gonna be starting those foreclosure processes on all those properties. So how do I know this information? I have a contact at one of these, I'm not gonna tell you which one, auction houses that have told me that the wave is coming and the inventory is coming to where, they'll have, 1,500 to 2,000 properties on their site at any given time. They'll have tens of thousands of properties, and that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and Bank of America and Citibank and Wells Fargo, all these companies right now are basically sitting on stacks and stacks on their desk of these pre-foreclosures. So what does that mean? It means that it is coming. What's that going to do for you and me? What's that going to do for the real estate wholesalers? There's going to be a ton of inventory hitting the market because these people that have not paid their mortgage, that is now going to be going through this trustee sale process or mortgage foreclosure process, right? They're going to have two options. They can list their house to sell, or they can call someone like you and I. They can call us, call you and I, and sell their property quickly, and get the deal done. So I believe, based upon this source of information that works directly on one of these large auction houses, on the literally inside a C-level, suite level person on these type of companies that are now gearing up for what is about to happen. They're gearing up for the properties in the inventory that is about to hit these sites, and their relationships with these banks and what they're expecting in first, second, third, fourth quarter of 2022, of the amount of inventory, the amount of foreclosures, the amount of auction properties that's going to be hitting the market is going to be absolutely staggering. So the interesting thing is, what is going to happen to the real estate market? Is it going to crash? Now, I don't really think it's going to crash because money is cheap and demand is there. So if you look at a chart in 2005, right? In 2008, we looked at it, we were at about a 4 to 5 month supply. In 2008, we ballooned to 12 month supply, right? In Phoenix. Now, if you look at this, we're at like week supply, and if we go up to 2 to 3 month supply, 4 month supply, we'll be in a normalized market, which will be good for the market. So we'll have more supply in the market, right? That means more properties, more inventory in the marketplace, but we still have a healthy demand of buyers because inventory is low. What will that do? It will it'll equalize the market. So here's the thing, right? How can you be able to capitalize on what's coming on with that? You want to be locked in yourself, right? And you want to have your numbers locked in your business. And that's what I want to get this by, and we can talk about right here. All right, so AC, if you can get me back to the screen, I'd appreciate it. All right, so what we're talking about right now is, and I'm going to go through this, but I want to talk about a couple different things. I want to talk about this is understanding the law of attraction. Now, law of attraction is like the law of gravity, right? And essentially how the law of attraction works, and it works in your life, and it works in business, but the law of attraction is an attractive magnetic power of the universe that draws similar energies together. The law states that like attracts like. Even the law of gravity is part of the law of attraction. All physical reality is made up of vibrational energy, vibrations of energy. Your thoughts, I mean, we talk about molecules, we talk about atoms, we talk about, protons and neutrons. That is all vibrational energy. If I look at this desk, it's a hard physical object, but if you look at it through a microscope, you're going to see protons and neutrons and, atoms, and you're going to see that through the microscope, looking at whatever 1,000, times it, whatever it is. But I'm not a a scientist, a quantum physics scientist whatsoever. The bottom line is that I know, and most people know in science, that everything is made up of energy, some sort of energy source. So your thoughts also are vibrational energy. What you think, that goes out as vibrational energy. So our desk here, right, our computer right here, it's made up of energy. So is our thoughts made up of energy. This is not a concept or a theory, but rather a startling new reality that quantum physics now reveals to us. Your thoughts have a power to influence the effect of what happens to you, right? Now, can you sit around and can you just meditate all day and have stuff show up in your life? No, that's not how it works, right? But our thoughts can influence what happens in our life. People, events, circumstances, things will show up when we take inspired action, right? You'll get an inspiration, you'll get a thought, you'll get an idea, things will come in. You'll have a feeling to go a certain path or a certain way, and the right person will show up at the right time and answer that or solve that particular problem. It becomes unexplainable. It's called a coincidence, right? And we're like, wow, how did this particularly happen? Because things line up perfectly based upon what we are focused on and what we think about constantly, right? So here's the thing. Negative thoughts or mental images will attract negative people, circumstances, events in our lives. What we repeatedly focus on mentally eventually becomes our physical reality. So here's the interesting. They actually have sayings for this. Have you ever heard of these sayings, right? When it rains, it pours, right? The better it gets, the better it gets. Those are sayings that we made up that, guess what? You get more of what you already have. So here it goes. Our thoughts or mental images create feelings. And our feelings are the powerful magnetic energy that attracts more of the same. Okay, so what does that mean? You know, we're talking about, oh, feelings. You have feelings in this, feelings in that. If you have a negative emotional feeling, what happens is we're thinking something, we create an image in our mind, and it creates a negative thing. And what's an example? And here's what I would do. I would think of a thought, right? For an example, I had a bill to pay, or something like what would happen. I'm talking about you know things that would create negative emotion that you could change. So I'd have something, right, and I would project, right, the fear of not paying it, and the consequence I'd play over mind of what happens if I don't pay that bill, or what happens if I do that thing, or what happens if I screw up. I remember, when I first started public speaking and talking, I would project me screwing up, making a mistake, blowing it. And I get that negative feeling in my stomach of just a bad feeling. And what happens is your thoughts, create your feelings. And what happens, that attracts more of the same. Guess what? I go blow it. Guess what? I basically have that, bill and would be able to fund it. And I have to, all those things that I thought and feared came to fruition. So how do you change that, right? You recognize that you're making negative thoughts and feelings, and all of a sudden, boom, you can change those, and you can realize you have negative feelings. You can pivot, right, and start talking about what you thought, thinking about what you want versus what you don't want. Instead of thinking about not paying the bill, focus on paying the bill and what it's going to feel like. And the amazing thing of actually having it come to fruition and being successful, or going out and doing that keynote presentation and then visualizing it and crushing it. It's amazing, and it was inspirational. People come up to you and say, oh, it's so great. And if you project that out, guess what happens? Things start to line up perfectly, and in a way that will make that come to fruition. So, what are positive, negative feelings? I'm going to move on. I want to go through this. I want you guys to read it, but I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. But positive magnetic feeling. Love, appreciation, and gratitude are the top three. And Tony Robbins talks about if you live in the state of gratitude, you can't be grateful and angry, depressed, confused, bored, worried, anxious, concerned, doubtful, and unhappy at the same time. You can't be eager, relaxed. I mean, you can't be that and frustrated at the same time. So if you're love, appreciation, gratitude, joyous, eager about the future, relaxed, thrilled, ecstatic, certain about where you're going, dynamic, optimistic, and energetic, guess what? Things will line up for you perfectly in amazing ways. Now, if you're in a state of anger, depressed, confused, overwhelmed, frustrated, irritable, paralyzed, doubtful, helpless, concerned, and you believe there's not enough, you're anxious, worried. These two right here are the worst. Concerned about what's going to happen, anxious, worried about the future, indecisive, fearful, unhappy. Those are negative, magnetic, attracting feelings. So here's the thing. And come back to me real quick, guys. So here's the thing. I talked about specifically two different people in the same markets. Let's say they were in Tucson. They had the same experience. They're newer investors or seasoned investors. They're using the same postcard in the same market to the same list, doing the same thing. Guess what? Calls are coming in. One real estate investor is crushing it. He's making all the money. He's high-fiving. He's knocking it out of the park. And the other guy's struggling. What's the difference? What's the difference? It's right here. Go back to my screen. One that's crushing it is living in love, appreciation, and gratitude. They're eager about their future. They're thrilled, ecstatic, dynamic, optimistic, and energetic. The one that is not achieving is anxious, they're bored, they're worried, they're pessimistic, they're fearful. They make fear decisions versus faith decisions. They're concerned, doubtful, indecisive, confused, frustrated, irritable, and overwhelmed. And guess what? If you're in that state, you can do all the right things mechanically, business-wise. This is why I'm talking about this first versus the KPIs versus the business side. Because if you don't get this dialed in, then whatever I talk about next is irrelevant because you're not going to have this dialed in. You can get the business side, the other side of the coin, the KPIs. You can do everything we're going to talk about there. But if you don't have this dialed in and you're in that depressed, confused, overwhelmed, doubtful, helpless, not enough, anxious, worried, concerned, right? Fearful, if you're in that state on a constant basis, you can send all the postcards you want. You can do that and you're going to end up with not enough because you're attracting more of not enough. Not enough. Now, let's talk about morning rituals. Now, let's talk about how to, and here's the thing. Here's the thing before I get into this. Successful people engineer in their lives on a consistent daily basis love, appreciation, and gratitude. What does engineer mean? Engineer, right? Another word for it would be engineer. They act, they produce, they do, right? The act of. So essentially what they do is they engineer, act, do, produce the feelings of love, appreciation, and gratitude on a consistent daily basis. That's what successful people do, because, and Tony Robbins calls it priming. You're going to prime your day. So you're setting up the day, and guess what? Things are attracted to you. So here, the most successful people in history, the ones many refer to as geniuses in their field, masters of their craft, had one thing in common. Other than talent, most adhered to a rigorous, rigid, and specific daily ritual. So first off, I'm going to talk about the ultimate 30-minute morning ritual, and you want to infuse gratitude in your goals. So I highly recommend reading this book by Mae McCarthy. It's called The Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps for Financial Abundance, 5-step 30 minutes framework. Read something inspirational for 5 minutes to get inspired. There's an app that I use called Motivate, and Motivate is a phenomenal app, and they have videos, they have different quotes you can read and stuff like that, but it's phenomenal. It's a great little app in the morning. You watch just a 3-minute, 5-minute video. It's going to get you pumped. Read your January letter, which we'll talk about with emotion and feeling. Write everything you're grateful for now in a journal format. So I use Day One app. I use this app right here. It's called Day One, right? And I go in daily and I write everything I'm grateful for right now. And what happens is when you start writing it, you'll go, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And guess what? You're going to get more granular and deeper, and you're going to start recognizing things you're grateful for on a daily basis. You're going to be grateful for things you never thought you were. Grateful for your health, right? Grateful for, you have the things that, grateful for a roof over my head. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. But what happens is as you continue this ritual and you do it over like a 30-day period and consistently, it gets deeper and you become more grateful, and you become more grateful for deeper things in your life. And it could just be for experiences. It could be for experiences, things that you've done that are really cool that you might want to, it's like, my daughter had this past week, we went to a wedding on Sunday. It was actually a Christmas wedding. It was really cool. And my daughter needed a dress. So we drove to Scottsdale Fashion Square. We went there, we had a conversation. We were talking all about her friends. And, in Nashville, she goes to Belmont University. And we're talking all about her friends and stuff like that, and where she's telling me all different things about her friends, and we'd go out there and we went shopping, and we looked at all these different dresses and this, that, and the other, and we picked one, and she's talking about it and this, that, and drove back, back to the house, got all dressed up, and drove to the wedding, and we had a blast, and it was an amazing time, and we had a great time just spending time together. And I was definitely grateful for that time to spend. Now, last night we watched Christmas at Belmont. While my daughter happens to be singing, she was on TV last night on PBS at the showcase of the Christmas at Belmont show. She was on national television, for the Christmas at Belmont. I was like, wow, I'm just grateful for that, man. My daughter's in college, she's doing what she absolutely loves, which is singing. And then she's on national television singing. They got some great shots of her. They're just awesome. Singing on TV for the Christmas at Belmont, which is a fabulous show. It was amazing. But I was just write about what you're grateful for now. Now here's the difference. Here's the twist. You want to write everything that you want to happen in the next 30 days with gratitude as if it's already happened. So you're going to infuse gratitude in your goals. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the January letter, right? But I am so grateful that my wholesale company has closed over $220,000 for the month, for an example, in January 2022, right? That could be a way to infuse gratitude. I am so grateful. You want to feel it. I am so grateful. And you write that daily for 30 days, right? Guess what? Guess what? Things will start lining up that these goals can happen. And this can be, so you're going to write down all your goals that you have gratitude for that you want to happen in the next 30 days. Read your gratitude letter with excitement and motion, right? So you're going to go through and you're going to write it in I write it in my day one app, right? I write it right in that day one app, and I'll go through and I'll just read it and I'll write it. I was like, wow, it feels, it's amazing. And I can almost see it and visualize it happening before it's even happened. But you're being grateful for it as if it's already happened, right? Great. This is a great book. You'll love it. Okay. Now I'm going to go quick on this. I want to get through this. This is another great book. It's called Organize Tomorrow Today. This book is amazing. This is how you organize your calendar. It's basically on Sunday evening, write everything you'd like to accomplish for the week. This is how you accomplish 1 year's worth of work in 3 months, is by doing this. Whatever, you take all your goals, everything you want to write, and we'll get into that in a second, we're January later, but on Sunday evening, write everything you'd like to accomplish for the week that's off your list. Then schedule in your calendar in 15-minute increments based on your priorities, right? This goes in my calendar first, right? This second, this third, this fourth. So what happens is in my calendar, right, my morning ritual, my morning ritual goes in first. Spend time with God, pray, read the Bible, whatever, go through all that, do my morning ritual. Then my family goes in my calendar, all the stuff that has to happen with the family. Then my health goes in the calendar, when I'm going to go to the gym, when I'm going to go to Orange Theory, when I'm going to work out, whatever. Then work goes in after that. If you manage your schedule like that, guess what? Number one, you'll have your priorities straight. Number two is that you'll get more stuff done and you'll feel amazing because you're going to be balanced. The priorities, the stuff that really matters, is going to be all taken care of and put in your calendar first. Right? Your priorities first. Then your health. Then your work, guess what, will fit around everything else. Because the bottom line is when you're on your deathbed, your work is not going to matter. But your relationship with God and your relationship with your family, I guarantee, will matter at those moments of time in your life. So now, daily exercise. Another book I highly recommend is 4 Spiritual Laws of Success. You can read more about this. J.D. Rockefeller talks about his tithing. So let's talk about goals, right? These are your goals. So first off, we weigh everything we want to accomplish in 2022. Everything we want. We basically write down what the goal is, why you want to accomplish it, and a date. Goal, why you want to accomplish it, and a date. You write this down, everything you want to accomplish. And then what we do is what's called a January letter. And this is where I got from John Carlton, the famous copywriter. You want to write a letter dated 1 year in advance, documented in journal format, everything you've accomplished in 2022. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to project as if it's 2023. So follow me here. You want to project in the future that it's 2023. So think about it. It's a year ahead, 2023. And you're writing in your day one app, right? Everything in journal format that you're grateful for that happened in 2022. Now, it hasn't happened yet. But guess what? You're writing in a format in your journaling as if it's already happened. That is called your January letter. And you chunk it in different sections of your life. So think about that. Think about this, right? So now you're going to have a whole January letter of literally your entire year documented, everything you've done. I mean, I've put income goals that I've literally come within thousands of dollars. I'm talking multi-million-dollar income goals that I've come in within thousands of dollars. When 2023 came, I looked, I was like, oh my gosh, I was in thousands of dollars. My income goal that I started back in 2022. I looked at trips and things and events and things and amazing things lined up perfectly, unexplainably, that just laid out amazingly because of the January letter. And don't take my word, Google John Carlton January letter and read his blog post on it. That's what I did. And that's where I got this from. And it's allowed you to pull goals toward you, which is amazing. All right. So what's the chunks? We got business and career, family and relationship, your health, your wealth and net worth, and your contribution and purpose. So we're going to give you this. You can work through this January letter. It's definitely made a difference in my life. When you combine all these different processes between morning ritual, planning your day, tithing, which is incredibly important, which it talks about in this book right here, and talk about daily exercise, organized tomorrow. I mean, these are literally life lessons that I've learned that are habits that I apply in my life on a daily basis. And listen, I'm not perfect. I'm not even close to where I want to be. I have high goals, where I want to accomplish, where I want to go, what I want to do, and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm not even close to where I want to be, but I'm improving every single day, the best of my ability to go out and do the best I can do, and have an incredible life, and have. I mean, the lifestyle. I'm all about lifestyle, right? And creating memories and incredible things, and that's what it's all about. All right, so let's talk about business side, right? We got the business side, right? We talked about personal. We talked about you getting tuned in, tapped in, turned on, right? About your life and where you're going, and being able to align yourself and following this morning ritual, and living in the state of gratitude and appreciation and love, and doing it in a way and engineering that every single day, and aligning your business goals and what you want to accomplish, and being able to track things to you. Now it's the business side, right? Being able to, what are the 3 key components and the numbers that will make a massive difference in your business? So let's talk about that. Now I want to talk about right here, this is your 2022 revenue goal, and this is what's called the revenue matrix, right? This is the revenue matrix. What we can do in this revenue matrix right here, we have it right here. This is for if you have a team, and you can go in and change the formulas on the commissions right here, and maybe hard cost right here. You can change those if you want. All you got to do is just change the percentages right in here. Fixed income, fixed expenses right here. So you can go through and you can change this around all you want. But what this will do, and this is if you have a team, an acquisition, dispo, and any other fixed cost. This is if you're a single, solopreneur type of person. If you just want to look at solopreneur and income and expenses, what your goals are, right? So what we do first off, we say, okay, here's the question, the top question: what do you want to achieve annually? What is your annual goal, right? So we have a solopreneur over here. Let's talk about that first. We'll start with here, because a lot of people are solopreneurs. They don't have a team as of yet. So let's talk about this one right here. So what if you want to make $150,000 a year? Let's look at here. We have annual deals needed. Here's our KPIs: average profit per deal. This is our deal size. Leads per contract, right, and cost per lead. These 3 numbers impact your whole entire business, and we're gonna change these numbers around, and we're gonna show you how it impacts your ROI, your net revenue, which is your the money actually you're bringing home, your net revenue, and then your expenses, and what that and basically what that looks like. So let's say you want to make $150,000 a year. What does that need to make? So you want to make $150,000 a year, and you've got these numbers. Now, if you don't have these numbers, we'll talk about baseline numbers that you can use. But let's talk about these numbers real quick. Okay, so $150,000 a year. So we essentially need weekly revenue. We need weekly revenue here, right, of $5,000 a week. $5,000 a weekly revenue. We need 12 deals total, or 3 deals a quarter. Then we got weekly deals needed, about 1.4 deals, or at least 5 deals right here. 5 deals. And then annual leads needed, we have 364 or 87 a quarter. Weekly leads needed, we need 12 leads a week or 46 a quarter. Projected annual marketing budget, $51,000 or $12,000 a quarter, right? So it's a total annual marketing budget based upon these numbers right here of $51,000 or a projected weekly marketing budget of $1,730. Now, these are an average deal size of $13,000, $30,000, and $150. Now, let's give you an average, right? The industry standard is 10,000, oops, not 100. 10,000, 25 leads per deal, and about $50 per $50. So these are industry standards. You can use these until you can track your numbers. Right? Now, how do you figure out average deal size? Take all your deals, all the revenue divided by the amount of deals, that's your average deal size. Leads per contract, how many leads it takes to get a contract. Now, let's define a lead. What's a lead? A lead is everybody who wants to sell a property, right? If you have someone that's a wholesaler that's just, hey, I'm another wholesaler, I saw your ad, I want to do some business with you, that's not a lead. Okay. If someone says, take me off your list, that's not a lead, that's a response. There's a difference between a response and then a lead. A lead is someone that has a house and they want to sell it. How many of those leads it takes to get a potential deal? That's the question. And in this particular case, it'd be 25 in the screen here, 25 leads per deal. And now let's talk about cost per lead, right? Cost per lead. So if you go to the screen there, Alex. So cost per lead is $50, right? Now, cost per lead, I'm talking about a blended cost per lead. That might be texting. It could be cold calling. We use Google AdWords. We use direct mail postcards, right? So you have a blended cost per lead of $50 in this particular case. Now, if we look at it right here, $50, okay, and then we look at this right here, this is like the standard. So what happens? Net revenue, you pocket $131,000, and you have $18,000 in expenses in this solopreneur example, and you've done 15 deals a year. So what's your weekly focus? Your weekly focus right here. This is the most important number you want to focus on right here on a weekly basis, right here. Weekly leads needed. You need 13 leads a week to accomplish $150,000 a year at these specific numbers. So what's your goal? You're going to accomplish 13 leads a week. You know, if you accomplish 13 leads a week, guess what? Based upon the numbers, guess what? It's going to lay out where you're going to make $150,000 a year on a weekly basis. What if you get down to a week and you only do 10 leads? And it's Friday at 5 o'clock and you only got 10 leads coming in. Well, guess what? You're working Saturday because you got to get your 13 leads in for the week. You're working the weekend. What if you got 15 leads by that Friday? You're ahead of the game. Guess what? You could potentially make more revenue for the year. Based upon these numbers, the numbers essentially lay out, if you focus, here's what happens. People go, hey, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to do 13 leads a week. Friday comes, and they only have 10 leads, and they go, oh, I'll make it up for next week. No, you got to get it done. When you're committed to your goals, you're committed to making it happen, you're committed to your success, guess what? You're not going to go home at 4 o'clock and hit happy hour, 5 o'clock and hit happy hour at 5 o'clock on a Friday because you only have 10 leads. Or you're going to wake up and you're going to work Saturday and you're going to get those 3 other leads to accomplish your goal. And if you're consistent and you do that and you don't let yourself down, if you stay committed to yourself and committed to your goal and what you need to accomplish, success will be yours. It will submit to you. Right? What happens is when we let ourselves off the hook in our goal attraction worksheet, right? If I go back here real quick, I have a whole section on that called avoidance rationalization. It's the 4 logical excuses we avoid action, right? So what's avoidance rationalization? We go back, it's Friday at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and you only have 10 leads. You're supposed to have 13, and it comes in, and you go, oh, I'll do it next week. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, whatever. That's called avoidance rationalization. You're rationalizing why to avoid taking the last final steps of action, right? What if you didn't do that? What if you recognize that you are using avoidance rationalization and you said, I'm not going to submit to that. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get 3 more leads. Why? Because I committed to. I committed to doing it. And I'm going to push you. Guess what? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where success happens and failure happens. It's Friday at 4 o'clock. You committed to 13 and you only have 10. What are you going to do? That is the question. And guess what? What is your team going to do? What are you going to do? Is it acceptable? Are you just going to, and it's hard, believe me, it's not easy, but success, if you want it, you got to work for it. All right, now let's play with these numbers just a little bit. What if you could increase your average profit per deal to $15,000? Oops, 150,000. If you could increase it to 15,000, now all you need is 10 deals. Your marketing budget goes down to 12,500 or 416 a week. Instead of 13 leads for a week, you got eight leads per week, right? So guess what? If you could increase this number to 15, things could change. What if you get better at conversion? Leads per contract is all about conversion, right? How can you get better converting more leads to contracts? What if you bring that down from 25, you bring it down just 5 to 20, right? Guess what? Less of a marketing budget, more revenue. Look at more revenue. Now, cost per lead. You can bring your cost per lead down, right? We're going to talk about that. Now let's look at the opposite. Let's look at it where now you have 10,000, right? And then someone calls you up and you got a deal. You have a $10,000 spread, and they said, "Hey, listen, I'll close this thing next week, but instead of taking 50,000 for the property or 100,000 for the property, I want to give you 97." So now making that $10,000 spread, you make a $7,000 spread, and it becomes a habit on each one where you take the first offer because they're going to offer you a little less. And yes, you can close it quick, but you leave $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 on the table. Let's see what happens to the numbers right here. If you look at it, if you say right here, bam, instead of 10,000, you take that less from 100,000, you take 97, you take 3,000, and your average deal size goes to 7, bam. Right? What happens now is you make 120,000, you need more deals to make it happen. Now, let's say you get sloppy in your follow-up. You get sloppy on your leads. You don't call back people that come in. And now you get more leads coming in. You're paying for more leads coming in. You only talk and you're like a one call. You're looking for the ones that want to sell now, but you don't have a follow-up sequence. You don't have an automated follow-up sequence. You don't follow up at all in the process. You kind of let stuff fall through the cracks. You don't have a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, a system to capture all these leads and follow up with them via email and text and have a team of people or yourself follow up with these people. What happens? You have a higher leads per contract, right? A higher leads. So let's see what happens. What happens is instead of going from, what do we have, 20 here, let's look at the number. Let's see what happens. We'll go in here. Instead of 20, we go to 40, right? Because we're getting a little bit sloppy. Boom, what happens? Wow, we're making 107. Now what happens is now our cost per lead, let's say we have a cost per lead that's growing. and we're not really managing our cost per lead, and we're kind of throwing stuff out there, we're just kind of doing these different leads, we're really not being efficient with it, and our cost per lead goes to $150 cost per lead, what happens? So we make 150, we're doing 21 deals, we have 128,000 in marketing, we only make $21,000. And we're going, what the heck's going on? I'm doing this wholesaling thing, I'm doing deals, I'm trying to make it work, but I'm not making any money. It doesn't seem like I'm making any money. Why is that? Your KPIs, key performance indicators, are out of whack. Now, there's two types of people watching this right now. One, you know your KPIs. You know your cost per lead, you know your leads per deal, and you know your average deal size. And you want to improve those numbers. There's a second group of people that have no idea what I'm talking about. You have no KPIs, you don't know what KPIs are, you have not tracked your KPIs, and you don't have any system to track your KPIs, and you're going, holy cow, I know why it's not working. Because you don't have your KPIs dialed in or tracked, right? So the question is, here's the 3 KPIs we got to track. We got to track those so we can be consistent, we can grow in our business. Now, we look at this right here. Now, this works on a individual scale, and it works on a large scale if we want to do $3 million in revenue, right? We do $3 million in revenue, very same thing. Guess what? If we do 18,000 per deal size, say we have a 45 leads per deal, and lead cost, right? These are about our numbers right here. It's about $1,600 to $2,000 cost per deal, profit margin, the 40+% range. Here's our commission cost paid. We got 15% for overall gross revenue for taxes, 8% overhead right here. And guess what? We can run on a $3 million business. We can run about $1.3 million in revenue at a 45% profit margin, right? And this is without generating any, any type of self-generated type of deals. These are just paid type of deals, paid marketing type of deals. That means we need 156 leads a week, $270,000 annual budget. But basically, this is how it runs. These numbers, guess what? If you improve these numbers, and I improve this to $24,000, right? I get this number down to 40, right? And if I can get this cost per lead down to 30, bam, we're working almost at a 50% margin. I just increased our annual revenue by $250,000. Why? And just reduced our actual weekly leads needed by 50 plus, all by just manipulating or improving these numbers. So what are we constantly doing? Trying to improve these numbers. My whole role in my business, right, is trying to improve these numbers. How can we get a higher profit per deal? How can we get less leads per contract? How can we get a lower cost per lead? This is the reason I went national in 2019, primarily because of this spreadsheet, primarily because of my KPIs. We looked at our KPIs and our cost per lead skyrocketed because of competition in Phoenix. Our average deal size around stayed the same, and our conversion stayed the same, but our lead cost exploded. And when you explode your lead cost, what does it do to your overall revenue? It plummets, right? So if you don't know your numbers, you don't track your numbers, that was the reason I pivoted in 2019 and we went national, because we could have a lower cost per lead, and we're still getting our lower cost lead as we develop and grow and become better and better. Better at conversions, better at getting better leads coming in, better, at increasing our spreads. So let's talk about how we can increase those 3 numbers, right? How can you increase these numbers? How can you, it's called KPI improvement. We want to lower your cost per lead. We want to increase your conversions, leads per deal, and we want to increase your deal size, okay? So let's talk about the first one. And then I'm going to give you I'm going to show you where you can download these things. But also what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how you can be ongoing and actually work with us on basically working on an ongoing for these improvement of these numbers and be able to dial in yourself on your goals and what you want to accomplish in your January letter and stuff like that. So if I go back, let's talk about it real quick. Cost per lead. Cost per lead. What can we do to reduce the cost per lead? Now, let's look at lead channels. So we've got what I call pillars of lead channels, right? And pillars of lead channels are generating leads consistently in your business, and it's scalable, right? It's scalable. So essentially, here's what it is. And Alec, if you could come back to me if you could. So here's what it is. So you have cost per lead. So what can we do? So we have pillars in your business. And these pillars in your business are your lead generation. So I believe a pillar is Google AdWords or pay-per-click advertising. That's where you can advertise in Google or Bing. Someone can type in search terms, sell my house fast, and leads will come into your business, right? That's a pillar in your business, and it's scalable. And on a local basis, if you market locally, you'll have a very high cost per lead. If you market nationally and you market statewide, you can get a lower cost per lead. Now, you're going to have a higher leads per deal, but if your conversion is under, say 60 leads, you can still keep your deal cost under $2,000. If you can keep your deal cost, the cost per deal, marketing the cost, under $2,000, you can have a highly profitable business, okay? So that's your baseline. You want to have your leads per deal. So what can you do is look at your lead channels. Google AdWords on a national basis and on a small market basis. Pay postcards in smaller niche markets outside of larger markets as a way to generate a significantly higher response rate, which now you're getting a lower cost per lead in your business, and you're able to sell those properties because there's not a lot of competition and demand. Meaning, if you send postcards in Phoenix, the response rates are going to be incredibly low. If you send postcards in Tyler, Texas, your response rate is going to be a lot higher. Why? Because there's a lot of less competition, right? So, the next pillar in your business is TV advertising. So, TV, direct mail, and pay-per-click advertising. Each one of those pillars alone can create $10 million a year wholesaling operations. Obviously, you're going to have a team to process those leads. All three of those scaled can create $100 million. And that's what we're working toward right now, scaling our business, hiring people, and working people. And we got hired someone last week. We hired someone the week before. We got a full-time hiring person. All we're doing is hiring people because we're scaling these three marketing channels as we grow to do more and more and more deals. So now we've got these three. Those are the three main pillars that you can scale indefinitely to literally $100 million wholesaling operations if you so choose. Can you do just with one? You can do millions of dollars a year just with pay-per-click, just with direct mail, or just with TV, either way, or you can do a combination of all three. Now there's texting and cold calling. Texting, right, is very difficult because the carriers are shutting down the ability to text cold, meaning you cannot text a cold source, someone that hasn't opted in. So that is becoming obsolete. So I would not build my entire business around a texting model. Cold calling is becoming more difficult. Cold calling is a different type of lead. That lead, you're not able to ask the magic question, which is, what is your asking price? With pay-per-click advertising, they're responding to us. I mean, they are literally reaching out to us. Direct mail, they're reaching out to us. TV, they're reaching out to us. That means we can ask them, say, hey, what are you asking for your property, Mr. Seller? With cold calling, you cold call somebody, they're going to say, hey, what's your offer? I get calls from you and 10 other people. What's your offer, right? So there's a different type of lead. You tend to get a lot bigger type of deals and leads with these 3 pillars that we talked about: TV, direct mail, and pay-per-click advertising. With cold calling, yes, it is scalable. The data management is very cumbersome. It's costly to have callers to be able to do it, and you have to have a significant follow-up system to make it happen. I know people doing millions of dollars with cold calling. I cannot eliminate that as a pillar in your business, but it's a little bit different than these other lead sources I'm talking about. So how do you lower your cost per lead? What you do is you can look at your total lead cost, and if you're in pay-per-click advertising, you can refine your campaign. You can get a higher increased website. You can increase your conversions on a better basis. If you're looking at your direct mail, you look at response rates. How can you get increased response? What I've found is that targeting smaller markets, you get increased response because you have less competition. As long as you can sell those properties that meets a certain criteria, you're able to make that happen. Now, so that is how to reduce your cost per lead. Now, the next one is how to increase conversions. So conversions is called leads per deal. Leads that come in, how many leads it takes for me to get a deal. Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 50? And I'm going to show you in a software really quick why it's so important. I'm going to put these numbers together and show you how it impacts your business. And then we'll be done. But what I want to do is leads per deal. What does it take to reduce leads per deal, to increase your conversion, which is incredibly important. Now, it's you, right? Or you manage a team. It's either way. It's either you becoming better or you managing your team and your team becoming better closers, okay? So it's understanding what is getting to the close and being able to refine each step in the process. Now, when we hire, we believe that there's 2 parts. When we hire someone, there's effort that they bring to the table, right? That's the amount of calls they make, right? And the time they spend on the phone. That's trackable with our system. We use Dialpad. So we can track the amount of calls they're making, and we can track the amount of time on their phone. That's their effort that they're bringing to the table, and that's all trackable. Now, skill and technique is how many offers they're making, how many contracts they're getting signed, and how many closings they're happening, how much revenue they're generating. So those are all techniques. Those are skills that we can train. So we have 2 sides of a person that we're hiring, or even you. Is your effort, that you're applying to the business, and your skill of getting better in what you do. Your skill is, you might be watching a webinar, you might be watching a training. But the question becomes, how many calls are you making? How much time are you spending on the phone? And then what are the key moving points that's going to get to revenue? And that's how many offers you make, how many contracts you get signed, how many contracts that close, and your revenue. Those numbers, I can teach those to a sales team, right? So if I got some guy that's bringing effort, or you're bringing effort to the table, you're making the calls, you're talking the time on the phone, we can improve the amount of offers you make, right? Of making those offers. We can improve the amount of contracts you get signed versus the offers that you make. And also we can improve the amount of deals that close revenue-wise. What happens is, and as we hire more people, and we have more people on our team, guess what? We're getting people, they're making offers and they're getting contracts, but sometimes their contracts are too high. We have to renegotiate them. That's something, it's a skill that we can learn, which is the next one, average deal size. How do we increase average deal size? That all comes in the process of negotiation. Understanding negotiation, understanding personality types. Did you know there's 4 personality types? There's a blue, there's a red, there's a green, and there's a yellow. Each personality type thinks and acts different, and they come to a decision differently. If someone's green, they're analytical. Guess what? They cannot be talked to and shared with information and expected to come to a decision in the same way a blue will. A blue is a social, they're more social. Two of them are motivated by different things. One is motivated, social, is motivated by conversation, building a relationship. The more you talk to them, telling stories. A green or analytical, guess what? They are more motivated by facts and being on time and going through the details and understanding the numbers. Here's the biggest problem that I find when it comes to new sales reps, new people that are coming on, even you maybe, is they're talking to everybody the same way. You might be analytical and you're talking to an analytical, to a social person, and you're telling a social person facts. They don't care about the facts. They care about building a relationship. And guess what? An analytical person doesn't really care about building a relationship. They care more about the facts. So guess what? Instead of being a chameleon, they're treating everybody that they want to learn facts. A red person that's aggressive, that gets to the point and hates fluff, well, guess what? That type of person, they care about some facts, but they want to win. They want to get to the bottom line. They want to win the negotiation. They want to beat you. They want to make sure they get the best price possible for their house, no matter what, right? So how are you going to understand that personality and let him win in a way that you win too? That's negotiation. So understanding the 4 personality types. Does your sales team understand the 4 personality types? Do you understand that? Are you talking to everybody the same way? And you're wondering why it doesn't work. I'm talking to people. I'm making offers. I'm not getting deals closed. I can't get them closed or signed or whatever. Maybe you're talking to everybody in the same personality type. The next one is objection annihilation method. How you have the ability to overcome objections. Guess what? Someone says, you know what? I want to think about it. What do you say? Your price is too low. What do you say? I got to talk to my wife, husband, realtor, attorney. What do you say? I got to talk to my realtor friend. What do you say? Right? Those are all objections. How you handle objections is how many contracts you get signed. I call it the objection annihilation method, and we box the objection. So let me ask you a question, Mr. Seller. I can appreciate the fact that you want to think about it, but what specifically do you want to think about? Do you want to think about the contract? Do you want to think about the process? Do you want to think about the price? Or do you want to think about me? Is there something I said or did? Okay. What specifically, Mr. Seller, do you want to think about? You're making a general, I want to think about it, down to a specific. And they go, well, I want to think about the price, which is 99.9%. So now we don't have to talk about the contract. We don't have to talk about the process. And guess what? They don't have to talk about you. All they got to do is talk about the price. I say, great, Mr. Seller, I offered you $129,500. Where do you need to be to get the deal done today? Well, I need to be $138,000. Okay, great. How'd you come up with that number? Well, let me see what I can do. Let me talk to my underwriter. How'd you come up with that number? Where do you need the money for? Oh, guess what? There's a gap between 126 and 138. That's called the gap. What can we do to close that gap, right? That's the next step. It's understanding this process and working with your team to overcome objections, annihilate those objections, close the gap with the seller, and understand the process. And how do you close the gap? You ask a question. So let me ask a question, Mr. Seller. I appreciate the fact that you want $138,000, but do you realize I offered you $128,000 or $126,000, and we offered cash? You don't have to pay any closing costs. You don't have to pay fees or client fees. So is that the best you can do? Understanding that that's a net number to you. There's no fees coming out of it, like you would have to do in a normal real estate transaction. So I know you said 138, but understanding all this, we're taking care of all the repairs and all the problems and blah, 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 blah. Is that the best you can do? And guess what they're going to say? Well, if it's net to me, I could probably do 130. I could probably do 132. You're closing the gap. right? Closing the gap. So it's understanding and talking about that process through the seller and figuring out, and guess what? You come back and say, let me talk to my underwriter, come back, bam. I can't do 132, Mr. I can do $129,250. If we can do it today, we can get it done today. You ready to go? And it's being excited, enthusiastic, optimistic, and grateful, and expecting to get the deal done. So that, again, all increases your deal size because you're negotiating. It's negotiations. If you negotiate, you can get bigger, better deals. All right. Whew. We've gone through a lot of information. We've gone through we've gone through average deal size, we've gone through our KPIs, gone through our numbers, talked about how to improve those 3 numbers so you can crush it in 2022. Now, here's the question. What is your ongoing improvement system to crush 2022? What are you going to do in 2022 that you didn't do in 2021, that you didn't do in 2020, that's going to separate you from the pack? What's it going to do so you can crush 2022? 2022. So here's the thing, and I'm going to show you where you can download these for free. I want to invite you. We have. I want to show you this thing real quick. This is called the Sales Velocity Calculator. I'm going to show you the impact of numbers, right? So let's say you have two opportunities, right? And here's you're closing at about 25%. For the percentage of. So you're closing about that number right there. So, and then you have an average sales cycle, and it takes you, say, 64 days, or it takes you like 64 days to close a transaction. Well, let's first off look at deal size. What if your average deal size, let me go there. And I'll do 10,000, we'll do 1 in 4 transactions. You get 100 leads coming in, and it takes you 64 days. So you get the sales velocity. So you make $228,000 in this particular sale in the sales velocity calculator, right? So what if we go out and we increase the deal size here to 15,000? What happens to our revenue? We make $342,000. So we increased it by $5,000, and we turn around and we've made an additional $100,000 in revenue, right? Now, what if we can turn around and we reduce our sales cycle from 64 days down to 30 days? What does that do? Check this out right here. We doubled our revenue by reducing the average sales cycle. So these are numbers that are incredibly important in your business, right? This is your win rate. This is your closing percentage, right, of what you're doing. 1 in 4 transaction. These are active opportunities in your business. Now, check this out. What if you could get your average closing to 15? Everything stays the same. Look at that. This is the sales. Time is incredibly important. Okay? So back to my question to you is this. What are you doing in your business right now? What are you doing in your business right now that you can improve? You can track your numbers, you can know your KPIs, and you can work on your sales velocity on how you do business to increase your win rate, to reduce your average deal size, and you're able to stay on top of your game about what's going on in the real estate market and about everything. So I want to invite you to apply to our Syndicate 9 Mastermind. And we have for every level. If you're brand new, guess what? And you're brand new, have never done a deal. Guess what? You get to work side by side with me and my team, and to go out and guess what? You're going to call leads. You're going to make offers, and you're going to get deals under contract. You can learn more about it by pressing here. But the bottom line is, you can apply, and you click here. This is for Deal Syndicate. The ultimate immersion experience. You get to work side by side. My team and I just go through and fill out this application right here. The next page. And at the end of the application, you'll be able to download these items. You'll be able to download the this right here, the revenue matrix, and you'll be able to download the goal attraction worksheet right here at the end of that. So go to, it's right here, Syndicate 9 Mastermind right here. If you go here, Syndicate right here. Can you put it, is there a way to put it up on the screen? Alex, so put it Syndicate 9 Mastermind. Go to Syndicate 9, you're going to land here. If you go back, you can go through here and you can pick right here. I'm a beginner, I'm a hustler, right? And this is where you've done at least $50,000 in revenue right here. Fill out the application. So what the difference is between, if you're brand new, you've never done a deal before, you can work side by side with my team to go out and learn how to do deals, talk to sellers, make offers, get properties under contract. If you've already got a business and you want to improve these numbers, maybe you are not tracking your numbers and you want to track your numbers, what you can do is you go in and now you're in a mastermind type of setting. We meet 4 times a year with all groups, 4 times a year, right? We meet 4 times a year. It's application only, and we only have a handful of spots left. Literally, our group's getting too big as we speak right now. If you want to crush 2020, work directly with us, part of our team here, and we'll show you exactly how to do it. But essentially, we meet 4 times a year every quarter. You will come in, we meet in a mastermind format, and you're with other people in the same exact business, doing the same exact thing, going out and crushing it, and guess what? Improving their numbers in a positive way, and going out, and you'll be able to stay on edge on the market, what's happening in the market, any changes in the market, the foreclosure market, keeping on edge with that, but also being able to also improve your business, your tracking your numbers and everything like that. We are launching 7-figure syndicate. It's coming in 2022. You can join the wait list. That's doing $1 million a year or more in revenue. And that is experiential places. We'll go to killer experiential places like this right here and be able to mastermind by the pool with a Corona overlooking the ocean or wherever you prefer. We have different locations picked out, and we're excited to make this available. So, but you've got to be able to produce to get there. So like I said, by application only. So we got 6-figure syndicate, we got deal syndicate. If you're brand new, you've never done a deal before, how would you like to work directly side by side with my team and I going out, talking to sellers, making offers on leads we provide? We provide leads, you talk to them, negotiate, work side by side, help you comp them, make offers, write the contract, send the contract. This is actually doing deals side by side with my team. So to get the 2022 matrix and the goal attraction worksheet, just go here, fill out the application on there, and go to syndicate9.com, syndicate9.com. It's on the screen right there. You can do that right there, Syndicate 9, fill out the application. And what you can do is go there, fill out the application. On the thank you page is the download for that right there. So if you go there, you can fill that out, and you'll get a call from one of our team members to be able to see if you're a good fit. If you're a good fit, like I said, we only have a handful of spots left for deal syndicate and 6-figure syndicate. We have an all new experience coming in 2022. We're super excited about. We essentially haven't really told anybody about, but we're excited for that. So this is the deal syndicate. You can learn more about that. If you go to Syndicate 9 Mastermind, you can read all about, watch the videos of what we offer and what we do here at Syndicate 9. So here's some testimonials of some awesome people. Here's how it works. We have some great facilitators, part of the team. We talk about syndication. You get all of our featured products in here, and it's an awesome community of our mastermind. So All you got to do is go to Syndicate 9 Mastermind, Syndicate 9 Mastermind. It's been awesome. I just wanted to share this with you. Love to have you part of it. Obviously, there's no obligation whatsoever. If you're obviously if you're selected to be a part of it, I'll see you at the events. If not, I hope to see you in the future. But I hope this information helps you in a way that you can make 2020 awesome. You can crush 2022. And it can be a phenomenal year that you can go out and have the best ever. There will be shift coming in 2022, and I am hoping that with this information you can get in front of it, or you can work with part of our mastermind to really be engaged and be able to capitalize on what is about to come. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Go to Syndicate 9 right now, and you can download this stuff for free. Just fill out the application on whatever you fit, whether it be deal syndicate, 6-figure or 7-figure syndicate, and we will see you on the next training. God bless.